1.4, almost done with chapter 1 and module 1. All we have after this is section 1.5. So section 1.4 introduces us to domain, and range. Okay, and domain and range, you're going to need to be able to find domain and range 3 different ways. You're going to need to be able to find domain and range from a set, like in set notation that you kind of saw earlier, but this is a little bit easier to do because there'll be a set of ordered pair, a set of points, basically. You're going to need to be able to find it from a graph, and you're going to need to be able to find domain and range from an equation. Okay? So you got to be able to find it 3 ways: from a set, a graph, and an equation. 1.4 covers the set and the graph piece. Okay? 1.5 will do the equation part. So let's get started with section 1.4 on finding domain and range from a set and from a graph. Okay? So, domain and range. Usually in class, I ask you guys what do I mean by domain and what do I mean by range? Okay? Since you're not here, I can't ask you that, but most of the time, you guys are really, really good at remembering what domain was back from your high school days, like when you took Algebra 1 or Algebra 2 and whatnot. So most of you guys are able to tell me it is the x values, and that's right. Domains are all of the possible x values in a function. Okay? All of the possible x values in a function or set. Okay? So if domain is about all the possible x values, then what is range? That's right. Okay? Range is about, there it is, finally. Range is about all of the possible y values. So domain is all about the x. Range is all about the y. Okay? So if I give you a set like this, if I want to know what the domain is, and again, you're just going to give it to me in set notation. You do not have to worry about interval notation on that. We'll use interval notation when it comes to the graph and set notation. But in this one, we're just going to worry about set notation, no interval. Okay? So if we talk about the domain for this, domain is all about the x values. Well, what are the x values? And what we like to do when we write sets, just like before, we like to put things in numerical order from least to greatest. So when you write domains, when you write ranges, you put them in order from least to greatest. Okay? So what's the domain of this? Well, domain is all of the x values. So 1, 3, -18, -3/4. And again, we're going to put this in order from least to greatest. So our smallest one, -18, comma, our next smallest one is -3/4. I put that in parentheses so you know it's all 1. Our next x is 1, and our final x is 3. And there you go. That is the domain. See, really, really easy. Okay? Our range is all about the y values, where our y values are 2, 9, -38, and 1/2. So all we have to do is just put that in order. Okay? Get it where I want it. There we go. Our smallest y value, -38. Our next smallest is 1/2. Next smallest is 2, and then 9. And there you go. There is the range. And that's it. That's what they want. When you got set notation, give me the x's. for the domain, and then give me the y's for the range. In order, least to greatest. All right, go ahead, pause the video, give this one a shot. Go. Okay. So if you look up here, if you're talking about domain, it's all about the x. So we got 5, 8, 5, and 1/4. So if we start writing this out, so you've got the smallest, which is 1/4. The next one is 5. Notice we have 2 of those. So do we write it twice? No. Once you label the number once, if it happens again and again and again and again, it can happen a million times. You only put it once because you've got the number covered. Okay, so we don't put 5, 5. We just put 5, and then what's the next number after 5? 8. There is the domain. Again, if you have repeat values, we don't repeat them. We just write them once because once we say it once, we know you're here. Okay. All right, the range. Range is all about the y's. So that's 20, 16, -7, and 3. So all we got to do is put those in order. Our smallest y value is -7. Then we have 3, 16, 20. There you go. Okay. That's it. There's the range. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so there's how you do it from set notation. Now, let's talk about graphs, because when it comes to graphs get a little bit more abstract, okay? So I'm going to try and make this as clear as possible. It's so much better when I'm in front of you and visualizing this because I do a lot of funny stuff. So try to imagine, picture me in front of you and I've got a chair that's by me. That's a rolling chair, okay? All right. So domain is all about x values. So what I want you to picture is imagine me standing right here at the origin. There I am. My little stick figure. Okay. Actually, no, here, wait a minute. Even better. Create a pin. Is that it? Yeah. So I'm the smiley face. Okay. That's even better. Love it. There we go. So that's me. Now, domain is all about the x values. So we're all worried about the x-axis right here. And so imagine that you're taking a walk along the x-axis here. Okay, imagine me taking a walk in the classroom. Okay, when you're taking a walk, you are only allowed to look up and down. So what we're looking for is we're looking for our red graph that is above us, or it could be below us. As long as the red graph is there, that means that these values are in the domain. So you see my red graph is right there, right up above me at 0, 1. That means for the domain, this value of 0 is good. If I move over to 1, notice my graph is up here at 2. So that means 1 is in the domain. If I move over here to 2 and I look up, oh, there's my graph. It's up here at 3. That means 3 is in the 2 is in the domain. So as long as I keep moving over here, I'm just taking a walk. And if I look up or down and see my red line, then that means that where I'm standing is in the domain. So I'm right here at 7. Oh, there's my graph. That means 7 is in the domain. I'm right here at 9. Now notice my graph stopped just short of that, but what does this arrow mean? That arrow means that my graph is continuing on this way. I'm just not showing all of it to you. And continuing on up my graph and even on up my computer up here towards my X that's right there and even off the screen and through my roof. Things like that, okay? So, imagine me right here at 9 and I look up. Would I see my graph? And the answer to that is yes, I would. Because remember, this graph continues on and on and on this way. I just drew that red line in there and erased it for you. My graph is here at 9. Is my graph at 10? Absolutely. It's up here, right around in here. Okay? So I'm here. If I move over here and I move out to whatever this number is, let's call it 100. If I look up or down, would I see my graph? You bet. Out here at 100, my graph would be way up here. Okay? And then I'm getting up and I'm moving from my chair, following the x-axis, all the way out here to 1,000,000. If I look up or down, would I see my graph? And I'm physically actually standing in this office, moving along the x-axis to the right. If I look up, would I see my graph? Absolutely. I'm standing at 1,000,000 and my graph is way, 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 way up there. Oh, the best part about that, I forgot to tell you, is that you are superhuman. You are like a superhero. You have powers to look above and see at great distances. Okay? So yes, we could see my line above me out here at 1,000,000. It's actually gone through my roof, destroyed my house, and it's way, way up there in the air. So what I'm asking you now is, if I move anywhere along the x-axis in the positive direction, is there any place that I would not be able to basically look up and see my graph? Is there anywhere where I would not see the graph anymore? And the answer to that is no. My graph would always be there. Okay? There's no gaps or holes as I move out beyond this picture. This is where I said it kind of gets a little abstract. Okay, you got to envision this graph continuing on, and you have the ability to follow the line for infinity on. Okay, so since nothing is bad over here, that means all positive numbers are in the domain. So now we're going to sorry, it looks like I just gave my face a mustache, a red one. So now we're going to walk to the left. So as I move to the left, is there anywhere where if I look up or down, most of the time it's going to be down, that I will not see my graph? And no, because if I go right here to -1, the graph is actually shooting me. It went through my body. Ugh! I just got shot by my graph. Okay, it's going through me. So yes, this is in the domain. If I move over here to -2, does my graph still exist? Absolutely. It's right below me. If I move over here to -3, there's my graph right below me. As I move over here to 9, if I go down, would I see my graph? Because again, it stops right here. But yeah, I would see it, because remember, that arrow means my graph goes on and on and on forever. So if I come down here, my graph is right there. So -9 is in there. If I move out to 10, would I be able to see my graph? Absolutely. It's right down here. Okay, probably right around in here. If I kept moving on, so now you can see me traveling off, and I'm over here at 100. If I look up or down, would I see my graph? Absolutely. It would be way down here. And then again, I get up out of my chair and I start moving towards the left. And then I run into the door. And I did. See there, you can hear it. I ran into my door. Okay, so at my door, I'm at 1,000,000. If I look up or down, would I see my graph at -1,000,000? Absolutely. I would look down and I would look through the Earth's crust and all that stuff and see that it's destroyed the floor of my house and everything, and that it's down there, probably all the way by China and Wuhan, getting coronavirus. Okay, so my graph does exist by looking down. So are there any places along the negative numbers over here to the left that my graph doesn't exist? And the answer again is no. So that means my domain for this line is from -infinity to +infinity. Or in other words, all reals. So there's the set information, and here is the interval information, like what we talked about in A2. Okay? So again, there are no bad values. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a spot where I can't see my graph, because if I cannot see my graph, that's a bad value. Okay? That means it's not in whatever I'm looking at, the domain or the range. Okay. In class, I would physically be walking along the board. I would run into the wall and all that stuff. I would talk about how I would be able to walk out through the wall and just keep walking all the way above the ground, and people would be staring at me because I'm a person floating and walking through the air. So there's our domain. Okay, it is all reals because everywhere I walk along the x-axis, I see my line either above me or below me. All right. Now, let's talk about range. So, range is all about moving up and down, okay, the y-axis. So, when I move up and down my y-axis, I can only look left and right, okay? So, when you move along the x-axis, you're looking up and down. When I'm moving along the y-axis, sorry about that, I'm looking left and right, okay? So, imagine that you have a jetpack strapped onto you, okay? So I'm right here, I'm sitting down right here. Can I see my graph left or right? Absolutely, it's right over here. It's over here at -1. So now on the y-axis, this number 0 is in the domain. It's right over here at -1. I see my graph. So as I start to stand up, and I'm standing up now, physically doing this, okay? Can I see my graph? Absolutely. The graph is going right through me at this point. I've been shot again. Okay, so this point is on the graph. And then as I now start to turn my jetpack on and fly up. So that's my jetpack. I'm flying up on my chair. I'm standing up on my chair. The same way I would do in front of you. As I look left and right, do I see my graph? Yes. At this point, when I'm up here at, I don't know, I think I'm at 5 right there, +5. If I look over to the right, I see my graph. There it is. And then I start flying up some more. And when I get up here at +9, so I'm almost touching my ceiling now. Can I look left or right and see my graph? Yes, it's over here on the right-hand side. Okay? And then I start to fly up, and I'm up my screen, and I'm up through my ceiling. Yes, I just hit my ceiling and hurt my finger, dang it. Ow. All right, so I'm up here at my ceiling, and I'm up at my ceiling, and I'm do I see my graph anywhere? Yes, I see my graph off to the right-hand corner. And then I fly up out of my house like Superman, but I got a jetpack because I'm not that powerful. Okay, as I fly up to 1,000,000, if I look left or right, will I see my graph? Absolutely. I will see it to the right of me. Okay? So now I come back down and I land. So I've landed. Okay? Is there any place moving up along my y-axis where if I look left or right, I will not see my graph? And no, there is not. Okay? As I look always, as I continue up, it will always be over here to the right of me. All right? So, with that being said, the range right now is just like what we had right here with the domain. All positive numbers are good to go. Okay? Now, instead of a jetpack, we're going to take our jetpack off. We're going to put on our drill. So I got my drill on my head now. And I'm going to start drilling down. And again, I'm going to look left and right. Oops, didn't want to do that. I'm going to look left and right. So as I start drilling down, if I look left or right, will I see my graph? And absolutely I will. So when I'm down here at -1, it's right over here to the left of me. And then at -2, it's right over here, drilling down and through my floor. My wife's getting angry. And now I'm going to start drilling through, the floor of my home. And I'm looking over here to the left, and I can see my graph. It's right there, okay? And then I'm going to still continue on down. And now I'm down here at -9. I'm in the ground of the earth, Okay? So if I look to the left of me down here at -9, would I see the graph? Absolutely, because remember, it keeps going on and on and on and on. It's going down and down and down and down. And then now, like, and I'm drinking down into the earth. I'm going through the core of the earth. Man, it's hot in here. And I get all the way to -1 million. And I'm over here in Wuhan, China, in a hazmat suit and everything, because I don't want no corona. But if I'm down here in China, at Wuhan, if I look left or right, would I see my graph? And I'm at -1 million. Absolutely, I would see my graph. Okay? It would always be to the left of me. So what does that mean about the range of this? As far as the negative value goes, there are no bad negative values. So the range is also all reals. Okay? So there you go. That's kind of how I think about domain and range, is I take walks. Keep erasing my little smiley face. I'm either walking along the x-axis and I'm looking up or down to see if my graph exists, or I'm flying up or digging down into the earth to see if my graph is to the left or right of me. Okay? That's how I deal with graphs, and that's how I kind of think about it. All right? So I got a couple more pictures where we're going to work on domain and range. Go ahead and pause the video. Give this one a shot. Okay. So on this graph, let me get my little smiley face. There we go. So I got my smiley face here. So we're going to take a walk. All right. And let's talk domain first. So as I walk along my x-axis, is there any place where I will not see my positive side? Now, many of you are going to get out here to 4 and you're like, Mr. Armstrong, you cannot see your graph. Now, I know this was bad form of me, but there should be actually arrows on the end of this, because this graph does continue on and on and on and on upward. Okay? Now, what most of you are going to say is that this graph is shooting straight up, and that right here at 4, if I go up there, I will never see the graph, but you are incorrect. This thing looks like it's going straight up, but it keeps going out and out and out and out this direction. So I will be able to see my graph above me at 4. I will see it above me at 5. I will see it above me at 7. It's just that it's going to be way, way up there. Like, for instance, this will be, I will not hit my graph until I'm up at 16. I will not hit my graph until I'm up at 25 on 5. I will not hit my graph until I'm up at 36. 7 is at 49. 8 is at 64. 9 is at 81. 10 is at 100. So you can see that this graph is getting really, really large. Okay, it's growing really fast. Okay, so as far as this goes for the positive side here, the big thing I want to talk about, this is not just shooting straight up. It's shooting up and out. Okay, it's just going to take it a while for it to look like it's going out, but it really is going out. I promise you. So as far as my domain goes, for the positive side, there are no bad values. So it will shoot off to positive infinity. Now let's look at the negative side. So again, at 0, I'm good to go because my graph's going right through me. I've been shot! Okay, my graph shot me right here at 0. It's going right through me. But as I get to -1, yep, I see my graph above me. And it's okay if your graph is all above you all the time. It doesn't always have to appear below you. As long as you can see your graph, you're good to go. So at -2, I see my graph. At -3, I see my graph. And then I get to -4, but there's no graph above me. Or is there? Okay, so this side, just like the positive side, this guy is shooting up and out this direction. So yes, I will see my answers at negative. I will see my graph at -4, at -5, all the way out -9 and -10 over here. Okay, your graph is above you. And again, it's those same values that I talked about over here. This is 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. My graph exists there. So are there any bad negative values? No. So our domain, just like in the previous section, is all reals. Did I put negative on that guy? Okay, I did put negatives there. But let's take a look at the range, because the range is different. Okay? So my range, if I'm doing the positive side first, well, obviously at 0, my graph is here, so I'm good to go at 0. And as I move up, do I see my graph? Absolutely. It's on both sides. Okay? 1 and 1. If I go up to 2, do I see my graph? Absolutely. It's on both sides of me. Okay, if I go up to 3, it's on both sides. If I go up to 4, absolutely, it's over here at +2 and -2. As I move on up, will I always be able to look left and right and see my graph? Absolutely, because it's going to be on both sides. Okay, I'm bouncing back and forth between my two graphs here. So are there any bad positive values? No. Okay, so for our range, all the positive values are A-okay. Let's look at the negative values. So at 0, I'm good to go. But as soon as I get below 0, at -1, is my graph anywhere to be found? And the answer is no. There is no graph down here for -1. There's no graph at -2, left or right. There is no graph at -3 or -4, -5. So my graph doesn't exist down here. There's no graph here. So that means these values are not in the range because there is no graph. Okay? So what does that mean? That means for our range, we need to find out where it starts then. Where is it that I actually start to see my graph? And it starts right there at the origin. That's when I start to see my graph on the up and down. And what value is the origin? That is 0. Now the question is that a bracket or a parenthesis? Well, let me tell you this. Your numbers will always be brackets unless you see an open circle on the graph. So like for instance, if you see this, see how that's an open circle right there on my graph? Then that would be a parenthesis. But because you do not see an open circle, it is always a bracket because that means this is included in our graph. Okay? Open circles are the parentheses, means we do not include it. Okay? So, rule of thumb, if it's an open circle, it's a parenthesis. If you don't see anything, bracket. Okay? For your number. Again, if you see an open circle, put a parenthesis. If you do not see an open circle, keep it as a bracket. So that right there is our range in interval notation from 0 on up. If we were to do this in set notation, it would look like this. You have to use y because we're talking about the y values. Well, what does this look like in set notation? Well, if we remember, right, from A2, it's a bracket, and this thing would shade to the left. Okay? Because we went from 0 on to infinity. How do we write that as an inequality? Well, you would put y, your variable, and it's a bracket, so it's going to be equal to, and we're shading to the left, so it's greater than. There you go. There's how you would write that in set notation. Y greater than or equal to 0. Because we want everything from 0 on up. Okay, let me fix that. That looks like a weird 2. There we go. All right. There we go. That's your range. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay. Pause the video. Give this one a shot. All right. So let me get my funny pen so I can get my picture. My face on here. There I am. And I'm magically over there too, but we don't want that guy. All right. Oops. Let's go back to my pen. There we go. So as I move to the left or to the right, are there any bad values? No, there are not. Because right there I see my graph. 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 And as I move out here to 10, because this graph keeps going this way, I will see my graph. So my domain is all good for all the positive numbers. But as I go to this direction, let's find out what happens. because it's not all reals this time. Yes, I see my graph. It's above me. There's my graph. It's above me. There's my graph. It's above me. There's my graph. It hit me. I got hit. At -5, no more graph. And at -6, there's no more graph. -7, no more graph. -8, so on and so forth. Okay? So where is it that my graph actually began on the y-axis? Or sorry, the x-axis. It began at -4. That's the last time on the negative side that I saw my graph. So this guy is at -4. Okay? Because there's nothing past that. So open or closed circle. Well, look at this. That is a closed circle. So that means since it's not open, it's a bracket. And there you go. There's your domain. Let's write this in set notation. So this will be the x with the bar this time. And again, if you think about this as an inequality, if I draw a quick picture, this is at -4. It's a bracket. And it says shade to the right. Okay? So as an inequality then, this looks like x -4. Because it's a bracket, it's an equal to, and we're shading to the right, so it's greater than. Let me fix that. Horrible. There we go. So there's the set notation for this. Okay? So let's talk about the range. So at 0, yep, my graph is right over there. So I see my graph. At 1, yep, my graph is right over there. So far, so good. At 2, yeah, we see our graph. It's going right through us. Our graph is impaling at us. Ugh, impaled. Okay? At 3, do I see my graph? Yep, it's right over here. At 4, do I see my graph? And most of you, again, just like what you ran into over here, you thought this shot straight up. This guy is not just going to shoot straight out to the side. It's not going to just be a level horizontal line. The thing is going to continue to go up and up and up and up. It's just going to take a while for it to get up and up and up and up like that. So at 4, yes, over here, I will definitely see my graph eventually. At 5, if I go over here to the right, I will eventually see my graph. So are there any bad positive values? No, because I can always see my graph to the left or to the right of me. So we now know that the positive values are okay. Because again, remember, this guy's going to continue to go up and up and up and up. All right, it's not going to get horizontal. Now, if we go down, no graph, no graph, no graph, no graph, no graph, no graph, no graph. Okay, there's no graph down below. So when was the first time I saw the graph? It was right here at 0. Because it's over here at -4. There's my graph. Okay? So my range starts at this value. It starts at 0. Bracket or parenthesis? Well, take a look at the point over here. It is a closed circle, so it is a bracket. So hopefully, if you wrote the set notation, it looks like this. Y, your line, and then this is just like what we ran into right over here. It's the same exact phrasing. Y greater than or equal to 0. Okay? There you go. There's your domain as set and interval. I think I have one more. Let's double check. Yes, I do. Go ahead, pause the video, give this one a shot. You got this. You can do this. Go. Okay. Last one. Let's get my face on here. I know you guys love seeing my face. There it is. And my other face that's right over there. 2 faces better than 1. All right. So as I move over here in the positive direction, is there anywhere where I will not see my graph? And the answer is no, because again, this guy's going to keep going on down and down and down. And over here, that guy should have the arrow right there too. Okay. So as I'm moving over here along my x-axis to the right, I'm always going to see my graph. It's always going to be down below me, other than right here in the beginning where it was all above me. So my domain so far, we like all the positives. Okay? Now over here, As I move this way, do I see my graph? Absolutely. Above me, above me, above me, above me, above me, above me. Oh, impaled. And then down below me, down below me, down below me. This guy's going to keep going on down. So as I move out here to negative 1 million, my graph will be down below me. So are there any bad values to the left? Absolutely not. So my domain is all reals. Okay? Negative infinity to positive infinity. All right, so let's work the up piece. Okay, so as I move up, or right here, yeah, my graph is right over here and right over there. It's on both sides of me. It's both to the right and to the left. Yep, to the right and to the left of me. Impaling me. As I move up, oh, just to the left, just to the left, just to the left, gone. No more graph. All right, so my positive values, where did it stop at? When did I no longer have any values existing? And that was right here. After 5, my graph disappears. So that means on the range, we have a little bit of a change here. The highest we go in the positive direction is 5. And is that a bracket or a parenthesis? Well, that is a closed circle, so it is a bracket. You'll know when it's an open circle. It will be an open circle with a clear inside. It will be all white inside of it. Okay, that is a closed when it is filled in. So there's the top of my range. I don't go any higher than 5. Okay, so now as I work down, didn't mean to erase my face again. As I work down, is there anywhere where I will not see my graph? And that the answer to that is no, because it will always be on the left and the right of me. You can see it's over here on the right, over here on the left, over here on the right, over here on the left. As I move down, it's over here on the right, and then this guy's over here on the left. You just can't see it. And as I go down to negative 1 million, it'll be over here on the right and over here on the left, just way out there. So are there any bad negative values? Absolutely not. So that's what the range looks like. Now, if we look at this as set, so that'd be y, the bar. Okay. If I draw a little graph to think about this inequality style, 5 is right there. And this says it is a bracket, and we want to be towards the negative side, so we shade to the left. So if I draw this as an inequality, this is y and the 5. And since it is a bracket, it's equal to. And we're shading to the left, so it's a less than. And there we go with set notation. Y less than or equal to 5. And that makes sense because all my graph is from 5 and below. All right? And that right there is domain. Trust me, you're going to get lots of practice at this in the assignment. If you kind of think about it as taking a walk, like what I do, hopefully that'll help you kind of think and make this concept a little bit more concrete than abstract. Okay? So hopefully that helped out. And that right there is section 1.4. We will learn the other way of finding domain and range in 1.5. Thanks for stopping by.